Hello.
Hello.
We're doing this again. We are still doing the James Pod podcast. We're still looking forward. We're still moving ahead and looking forward, and we're
Keeping
doing it
our
again. 0016. That's the episode
we're
you're
uh
listening to now.
we're keeping our perfect record straight. Hopefully with this episode. I mean, I don't know how we can not make a perfect episode. Um uh
I can tell
given
you
that
how. I can tell you
given that
how.
we've made 15 in a row now.
I can tell you how we can make an imperfect episode. And I
Uh,
you know how I have a policy now. We've got two policies essentially. We've got a policy of honesty. But the other policy is looking ahead, moving forward, not looking back. But that said, I want to talk about something that happened in the past. And that is, we did split up. We did split up for an episode. There was one month where we each did our own show.
you're referring to 0013 in the September we each did our own episode.
Right, right. And let's be honest, because that is one of our policies. Those weren't perfect because there were a couple of those three that were done that weren't perfect. Yours and mine. Now, Alabama Dogs, obviously his was perfect. He really stepped up to the plate there.
Mm. Albeit it is his turned out to be labeled as explicit on our iTunes.
That is true. We got into a little bit of hot water with the Council of Mothers hyphen podcasts about that
Hmm.
episode.
Hmm.
But that
Got to
said, it
straighten
was
out. We got to straighten out.
we got to straighten out. We had to do a few hours of community service, but then we pointed out Alabama Dog U, and it actually took care of it.
Yeah, yeah. Community service. Yeah, yeah. Took
Yeah,
care of
we
everything.
just said there's like, oh, you have to do like, it was like 100 hours of community service, and we said, but he's already doing Alabama Dog U, and they're like, oh, that okay, that's fine. You've essentially already done so many hundreds of hours of community service with
I mean,
that.
that's
So
that's all he does is community service.
and skydiving and karate. But I think because his was we could just sort of factor out our episodes and just say 0013B, that's the episode we want everyone to sort of accept as the real one, and
Hmm.
that continues our perfect score.
If you haven't checked it out, I would highly recommend going to our iTunes or Stitcher or to our blog podjamespod.tumblr.com. Check out 0013B for Bama Dog.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yep.
Are you done looking back?
We don't look back. We look ahead. We
We
look
look
at
ahead to tomorrow.
uh-huh.
Does that lead us to what movie we're doing for this episode?
Mm,
Perhaps.
I guess, and that's sort of a weak segue. I feel like there should be a better segue. I guess that can be the segue. Yes. All right. We'll talk about the movie now. Tomorrow Never Dies. This is the second of the Pierce Brosnan movies. We've talked about two other Pierce Brosnan movies already.
Hmm.
Is it okay
Hmm.
to talk about that we have, because that's looking back?
I mean, in order to go forward, I feel like the listeners have to have some sort of um, perspective about where we are now.
Okay. Okay.
So and so we did do GoldenEye
That
in
was our
episode double oh
first
0
episode.
001.
Double O
Yeah,
One.
yeah. And and then we did The World Is Not Enough.
That was another episode we did. So that was the third Brosnan movie. So now we're the meat of that bread in this Pierce Brosnan sandwich or something.
Yes. I
So
would love to be in a
so
Pierce Brosnan sandwich.
so far 0016 may not be a perfect episode because we've had a couple of bumps there, but I think we can recover.
I'm just thinking. I'm sorry. I can't get a Pierce Brosnan sandwich out of my head
I
now.
think I think that's what something you can order at
Are
like
you?
one of those
Why?
delis in New York.
wh-
I'll have one of the Pierce Brosnans.
Is that
What would be
right
on a
next
Pierce
to the
Brosnan?
Stanley Cup?
It would be right next to the Stanley Cup. What would be on a Pierce
Oh,
Brosnan? If you went into a deli in Brooklyn and you ordered the Pierce
uh-huh.
Brosnan, what's on that?
A lot of grease.
Okay.
Um,
I think
I
it's
would
ham. I think it's ham. I think it's a cheddar. I think it's a cheddar cheese.
So you got ham, you got cheddar. I think he's a jelly kind of guy.
Oh,
I
so
think
you're putting
there's
a little,
jelly.
oh, like a raspberry jelly.
Yeah, yeah, like a little raspberry jelly on it.
So it's got a kind of a
Just a
Monte
little bit.
Cristo sort of
hmm
vibe going on. Or is it like a cold or a hot sandwich?
I think it's definitely hot
Okay,
for
so it's
sure.
so the jelly's put on later after it's been cooked or
Yeah, you
toasted
know,
somewhere.
of course.
Okay,
This
okay.
I think it's toasted a little bit, like the bread may be toasted a little bit,
Uh-huh.
and then they just spread the jelly in the end at the
Okay.
end.
So
Yeah,
ham, cheddar, raspberry jelly. What kind of bread?
he is the white knight. Tomorrow never dies, so I think we have to
That is
go with the
true.
white bread.
Yeah, just plain old white bread. And then I feel like there's got to be something else. Like what? I think it needs something additionally that's crisp. Right now we got like a really soft,
Yeah, there needs
soggy
to be
sandwich. So something that needs to give it a crispness. And I don't feel like it's
something like
onions, but like
a
something
zing, like a
like an
zing to it.
onion. Um, maybe it's something like banana peppers.
Oh,
Something something like
well,
that.
it's not like too hot. It's just right.
Yeah, is that we think banana peppers and raspberry jelly would go together? Ah, who cares? This is like some sort of gourmet thing. Like
S-
who
Well,
people are people are forking over $12. They don't care if it tastes good or not.
I mean, it's called the Pierce Brosnan for crying out loud.
You're right.
Like you're buying it for the name.
Right. You're not buying it because it tastes good. You're buying it because you can say, "Hey, I was in this deli in Brooklyn and I ordered the Pierce Brosnan. Take a picture on Instagram. Bam, I did it. Hashtag sandwiches of Instagram."
Exactly.
He's
Exactly.
he's Irish, right? Is there any kind of Irish thing? Should we put like potatoes on this thing?
You know, originally I was thinking potato chips, like
Oh, there
potato
you
chips
go.
on the sandwich.
Potato chips with yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Potato
Any,
chips.
I mean, just plain potato chips.
Like plain Lay's potato chips.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I like it. I
All
like it.
right. All
I
right.
would eat that sandwich.
So next time because I assume we're taking this podcast on the road someday in the future. We're going to do a tour, a world tour, and
Maybe when our book comes out.
when the book comes out, we'll do a world tour. I'm sure somebody like a Jimmy Fallon or someone like that will ask us to come to their talk show to
Yeah.
promote the book. While we're there, let's stop by the deli that listened to us and has executed on this idea.
That sounds like a great plan.
Okay.
In fact, it may boost their business so much that they then go on a Shark Tank type show and then get a franchise built. So it'll be nationwide.
Uh huh. What
And then, and in fact, maybe they would give us discounts so I can have one in Nebraska and you can have one in Florida.
when you say Shark Tank, I can't help but are you talking about the shark that's on my dodgeball team?
You know, my mistake. I was referring to the show and I failed to remember that you have a shark
Uh huh.
in Shark Tank on your dodgeball team,
Yes.
which, which, um, which also, I mean, it that leads me a little bit to our dodgeball teams.
A little bit
And
too. It's
I
not
think
again. It's not the greatest transition. We could have made a better transition there. A little bit of a better segue.
maybe a little bit. Um, it's not too bad. It's
Nah,
not too bad right now.
it's not too bad. It could be
No,
better. It could have been better, but not too bad.
it could have been better. Uh, but you know, thinking about the shark and thinking about the Shark Tank,
Uh,
I have Tomorrow Never Dies really inspired me about my dodgeball team.
ooh, it's been a while. I feel like since you've been really inspired.
Yeah, I mean last month, um, I put on the cameraman more as like a strategic choice about my coaching. So I don't know if you want to talk about dodgeball teams or if you want to hear how I'm inspired. Um,
I want to hear it all
or-
because that's what we do on the show. We get
I
together and we
mean,
talk
but
nothing else
listen,
about anything else but the James Bond movies. So hit me up. How are you inspired?
no. I mean, I want to tell you, but it's your month to go first.
Oh,
You have to pick first
it's my month to go first. I wasn't
whether or
super
not.
inspired.
I know
I
I'm inspired. I wish I was going first this month, but I'm not.
Let me tell you what I thought about when I watched this movie because while I'm watching the movie, I'm looking at this guy. He's in the movie quite a bit as sort of like the bad guy science tech guy, and he's an actor named
Yeah,
Ricky Jay.
yeah.
I love Ricky Jay. Do you know anything? Do you know anything about Ricky Jay? Do you know anything about this guy?
The character Ricky Jay?
The actor Ricky Jay,
Oh,
who played Henry Gupta.
oh, I see. I recognize him from some other movies, but I don't really know anything else about him.
He is a master magician, an illusionist. And I'm not. I mean, he's got there's a documentary that was on Netflix, and this guy is actually super. Like he's practiced for like millions of hours doing like card tricks and little trick, and he's been on all kinds of big talk shows, Letterman. I mean, he's done really the circuit that we will do someday with our book. He's been
Of
on all those
course.
big shows. We'll just be following in Ricky Jay's footsteps, of course. But so I thought if at any point while watching this, I was going to pay close attention to this Henry Gupta character, and if he was doing any kind of magic tricks, then
Uh-huh.
oh yeah, I want this guy on my dodgeball team because I'd have like the power of Ricky Jay's performance
Okay.
showing through. But no, Henry Gupta
Nothing.
did not do any kind of magic, so I'm going to pass on making any changes
I like how you just spent 5 minutes talking about Ricky Jay.
because that's what we do.
All right, so you're passing on any changes.
I'm passing on any changes. I just wanted to explain, like, the only chance I had to get inspired with this cast was I thought, oh, Ricky Jay, but he didn't do magic, so I'm not gonna. I'm gonna pass.
All
I
right.
thought you'd find that interesting. I thought the
No,
listeners would find that
that's great.
interesting. I mean,
You know, I
I
was,
think that's a whole chapter of the book right there that could go in the book. Ricky Jay.
that's I'm gonna let you and
Sorry,
Bama Dog
sorry.
take
You
over
don't
the
want to hear.
Ricky Jay
What
chapter.
this is. It's a podcast. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about stuff.
Look,
We're
look,
gonna explain how we
I
think
thought we
about
were
things.
I thought we were co-authors of this book, and
We
you're
are
going ahead
co-authors.
deciding you're gonna write a Ricky Jay chapter without
Well,
even consulting me.
last time you wrote a whole chapter on how Skyfall and Istanbul and blah
Oh,
blah
but
blah.
that's
I got your
but that's obvious.
Istanbul right
That's
here.
obvious.
Oh, it's
That's
a bunch
obvious.
of-
I mean, everybody's thinking. Everybody wants to read about that.
Yeah, everyone wants to read about Ricky Jay.
Maybe we should make another poll.
There's a documentary about the guy that
Do
somebody
you
out there.
care? A, do you care about Ricky Jay? B, do you not care about Ricky Jay? I think that would be the poll.
Well, I will have to reach out to Ricky Jay and ask him to vote on the poll and use his magic tricks to make
Well,
it.
then no, that's cheating. That's cheating. No,
He'll use his magic tricks and he'll
no,
make
he
it.
can't use his magic tricks. That's not allowed.
How will you know? You won't be able to tell he did it.
Fine.
Okay, so fine. I'm not changing my dodgeball team. I'm happy with my team as it is. And
I mean,
if you go to our website,
yeah.
podjamespod.tumblr.com, there will be we've added a little page on our site so that if you want to know who our dodgeball teams are, go check out that page. There's a little link to the dodgeball teams. We're not going to
fact-
spell it out every time. Blah 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 blah. It's just
In fact,
go check it out.
go check it out right now. As we're talking about the dodgeball team, so you can see who we're talking about. Like, oh, Carlin has Tyler Tanaka, and oh, Carlin has Solitaire on his team, and
Yeah, you said
oh, look,
wait.
Ernest Nicros.
Why didn't he replace Octopussy with Ricky Jay? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it lets
I
you.
thought Carlin drafted Ricky Jay. Well, no, he didn't. We've just been talking about Ricky Jay for 10 minutes.
Right. But that's what we do. We just
Yeah.
dissect and tear apart
We
these
talk about
movies.
minor characters like Ricky Jay, and we make him a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. So how are you inspired?
Much like you have Cigar Girl on your team.
Exactly. Cigar Girl is an amazing player, and you know that because of last month's.
Listen, I
match.
don't want to talk about it. I'm still hurting after Cigar Girl.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it's my turn now.
Yes, it is.
Um,
I've
So,
closed up my turn. I'm done with my turn. I'm going to now stop talking about my turn, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Aaron. You may now go and begin talking about your
I
turn
was
because I am done
thinking about
talking
my episode
now.
of 0013A, and I'm gonna reach back a little bit. So,
But we're looking.
if
But
you-
we're
if
only
you remember
looking ahead. We're only looking ahead.
Scott, my good friend, construction worker, who he's a big Bond fan, big fan of the show, big fan of Alabama Dog U. He had talked about your dodgeball team, Carlin, and he had said that you have a shark on your team, and that clearly the shark's the best player on your team.
Mm-hmm.
So, looking at the shark on your team, and we had talked about whether or not the shark was in a big tank, water tank on your side of the court or the field or wherever we're playing the dodgeball game that week or month rather. Um, so I'm thinking, okay, sharks on Carlin's team. He has a big water tank on his team. How can I use this to my advantage? And I'm thinking, okay, I have the Aston Martin car from Goldfinger, and it's got it's got guns, it's got oil slick, it's got the shield, it's got a lot of weapons at my disposal. So I'm thinking, what if I somehow break the water tank and get the shark out of the water tank? Then what? Then what happens? Then of course the shark is dangerous. The shark is rolling around or anything, but I need to somehow use this to my advantage. So I'm thinking there's water everywhere. The court's full of water. I need a boat. And what's better than the stealth boat from Tomorrow Never Dies? I am drafting the stealth boat from Tomorrow Never Dies.
How are you going to fit that on the court?
Listen, it's you won't even see it. It's a stealth boat. That's you don't even have to be concerned about it. All I know is that all my team members can go inside the boat and you won't be able to see it. And then I'll shoot my players out and they'll attack your team
Oh
when you're
man.
least expecting it. So I mean, I already have one stealth player on my team, with Nick Knack, who can uh, become a statue at any point. But now he can become a statue inside a stealth ship. I'm just saying it's going to totally own. It's going to totally
I
own.
I feel like I need to write another letter to Lisa Prentice at the American Dodgeball Association
Listen,
and clear this
listen.
because
Lisa, we're over. We're done with Lisa. She had her chance. She was voted down.
she was voted
She's
down.
Sam has not responded to your letter asking for Lisa Prentice to be in the new Bond 24 film.
His
Uh,
response will be Bond 24.
okay. Well, with that, with the stealth boats now on my team,
Yes.
I'm gonna have to get rid of somebody.
Yep.
And cameraman, it's been great. It's been a great ride. I thank you
I bet
for.
it has. I
I
bet
think
it has been a great ride.
um, I think I have all the analysis my team needs,
Uh-huh.
and all the film. I mean,
I
there's
think
only really there's only right now my team only really likes watching one film,
yeah.
and we just
Well,
watch it over and over again.
it's
So I don't
really
really need the cameraman. I don't need the cameraman anymore.
well, it's really hard for him to have anything to do now that you have a stealth boat. Like his there's nothing
No.
his film can't actually capture any images now. So, like what does he do?
Well, like once we get to that point, he's just like, Coach, I gotta cut it. I gotta cut it. What can I shoot? I'm like, and I say, well, what good are you? So we've we've gotten rid of him.
Uh
So cameraman, thank you for the film. We're keeping the film. In fact, we're keeping the camera equipment. We're just getting rid of you.
yeah.
So yeah. So stealth boat. Why not?
I have to applaud that. That's a really good idea, and I mean I have to look at being more creative myself in the future. Tomorrow Never Dies is the episode we're talking about. This
I'm just gonna say the title sounds like the title of one of my Renard poems.
it does.
Tomorrow never dies.
It does.
Oh, Renard, Renard,
Oh,
tomorrow
Renard, for tomorrow never dies,
like
such
you did.
as my love for you never
Hey, 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 hey,
dies.
hey, 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 this is my poem. My poem.
Oh,
Don't try to. No, no, my
sorry,
poem.
sorry.
In fact, I'll write one this month. It'll be a nice little
Of course
holiday.
you will. You are all the time writing Renard poetry.
Right, right. I've selected just a couple to post on our blog for our Renard poetry, just some good ones. But Tomorrow Never Dies. I've been working on this month, ever since watching this. Um,
Because
and
you have to
I
think,
I
like
feel
in this
inspired.
point in the chronology, Renard is still alive. Renard is out there doing
Exactly.
things. He's out there setting
Absolutely.
up
So
his
he's
villainy, his
in fact
villainous scheme.
in fact, he watched this movie when it came out, and um, he's thinking about how he can kill Bond.
How
And
can I get the
him
better of
and
Bond?
yeah, him and Elektra are well, one, they watched The Dark Knight Rises, and they see how that
Yeah.
movie unfolded. I don't know if they watched the end; they just watched it until the twist. Um,
But he's thinking
they
there. He's
stole.
sitting there watching Tomorrow Never Dies. He's thinking, how can I be better than Elliot Carver? How can I be better than Jonathan Pryce's
Yeah,
character?
yeah, exactly. And
How can I be better than Stamper?
and he's watching the Dark Knight Rises, and he's thinking, oh man, these motorcycle jumps and the way Batman jumps off buildings and the way Bond jumps off buildings in Tomorrow Never Dies just doesn't compare. It's just not near as good.
Yeah.
The motorcycle jumps.
Hmm.
These are all things that Renard is taking in.
He's taking it in. He's not feeling it, but he's
Mm.
taking it in.
Yeah, that may make my poem. That was beautiful.
Can we include some Renard poetry in the book?
I figured that might be like a nice bonus feature.
Well, I think that you know how sometimes chapters will open up with a little something, and then you get into
Yeah,
the chapter. Maybe every chapter has its own little Renard poem.
I would love that. I have a wealth of material here. Um, that I think Renard deserves something like that. The character of Renard, he's just the best.
He is.
He's
He is.
just
Yeah.
he's just
He's
the best.
just the best.
Sorry. I don't know why I'm laughing so much. Renard just makes me laugh and cry. So many emotions. So many emotions.
Well, you have to feel them because he can't.
I know. Stop saying that. I have to write them down. All right. We need to wrap this up so I can write down these feelings because he can't feel.
Pierce Brosnan returns. It's his second outing in Tomorrow Never Dies. He has just done GoldenEye, which we had talked about. We've already talked about that. We have talked about it. We talked about with GoldenEye. It's you ranked it in your top. I ranked it in the middle, but that wasn't to say I didn't like it. I have I do enjoy GoldenEye quite a bit. Following that up, though, following up this successful return to the franchise, Tomorrow Never Dies, and I think it's interesting how every time I watch some of these Bond movies, my opinion changes because I've seen Tomorrow Never Dies maybe only 3 or 4 times now.
Uh-huh.
I change my opinion about it every time I watch it. I did not like it initially. I watched it again. I liked it. I watched it again. I didn't think it was as good. I flip flop on some of these movies, and this is one of them. And I think I forget how bad it was, and then like it better than I thought it was, and
Yeah.
then go back and
It,
forth.
you're just playing with your expectations. It's like it's not too bad,
Yeah, it's not
and
too bad.
then you're thinking it is too bad.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think I'm
So
falling
you flip flopped about a dozen times or so right now.
a dozen is probably a low end exaggeration.
Okay. Okay. I guess that's fair.
It's
So
not really a dozen. It's probably just more like two or
so
three.
which way are you leaning right now?
I'm leaning probably more towards where I had thought, like last time I watched it, I had thought it was a lot better than I remembered, and now I'm like, well, I actually don't think it was as good as all that. So maybe I'm finally somewhere in here. I'll finally start finding what I truly feel about it.
I'm confused. So you're back to the point where you aren't so sure you like it that much.
I think I'm not so sure I like it. There are things I like about it. I think I like the idea of it. I like the idea of
Listen,
this media mogul, this different kind of villain. I like the idea of it more than maybe the execution. I found some of it far fetched, and yeah, it's a Bond, and a lot of it's far fetched. I get
I
that,
just
but
I know you. I know you,
mhm.
and it all comes down probably to the Terry Hatcher scenes. Like if you're really into it, if her performance is sticking with you, that probably is swaying you back and forth. Am I right?
Terry Hatcher. Let's, I will make no, I will not try and hide the fact that in the past, I was a huge fan of Terry Hatcher. I think Terry Hatcher's a
In the
very
past, we're
well.
talking about.
I was a huge fan of Lois and Clark. I loved Lois and Clark. I
Uh,
loved Lois on that show. Terry
that's
Hatcher
great.
was great.
She's great.
I like her as Lois Lane on Lois and Clark. As a Bond girl, and especially Paris Carver, she is just not that great.
She's a little stiff. Um, and yeah, I mean I liked her in Lois and Clark. I loved her episode or her character in Seinfeld. Um, and in this movie, we get a little bit closer to revealing if indeed they are real or not.
A little bit closer.
Um, a little bit closer, not too close. We're PG-13 here.
Right.
My cameraman might have been there. He might have the goods on that. I might not, and if he was, I might have to.
Do you think he's following Bond
You know,
around in
you
every
know,
movie? We just don't see that.
the cameraman in this movie was Ricky Jay.
Yeah,
Ricky Jay had a camera on Terry Hatcher's character
that's
when
right.
in the opening scene with her.
Yep, that's right. Ricky Jay was the camera. Now I kind of wish I had chosen Ricky Jay's character.
You missed your
I
chance
did totally miss my
getting
chance.
Ricky Jay on your team. Um, so yes, Terry Hatcher, whatever, whatever.
I'm
What
sorry. And listen, Terry, I know you're probably wondering, just like Denise Richards, she's out there, she values our opinion. Like, your performance in this movie does not detract from my opinions of you. I get it. It's just it wasn't a good fit for you. I think there would have been other actresses that they could have just stuck in there and had them do this. This wasn't for you. They didn't do you right.
that and she just didn't have much of a chance to make an impression.
No, she had
I
like
mean,
two scenes and then she
two
was
real scenes and then she's dead.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So with that, enter Michelle Yeoh's character, Wai Lin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so thoughts on her.
Again, I think this gets back to I like the idea of her more than I like the execution. I think that's where my problem is with this movie. I like the ideas of things better than the execution. I like the idea of Michelle Yeoh and this character being in the movie, and the way of like having this fellow spy that he's from another country that he's working with, but something about her and Brosnan's chemistry I didn't feel was that great. It was very Indiana Jones-ish in like it, because Bond. I felt like once she
He's a good
shows up
psychic.
and she's kind of one upping him, and I'm like, that's not Bond. That's not the way Bond is supposed to be. It felt very like Karen Allen, Harrison Ford, and Raiders more so than the way a Bond movie should be. And this is the Pod James Pod podcast, not the We Named the Pod Indiana podcast. So I don't want to talk too much about Indiana Jones. But just to say that's kind of
Maybe
the
a little.
vibe
Maybe
I
a little.
was getting off of that.
Yeah. No, I agree. She busts balls plenty in this movie.
Hey, just be
And
careful. Remember the Council of Mothers hyphen
oh shoot,
podcasts is listening to
she
this.
busts his chops.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, okay. Plenty of times in this film where she'll appear and she'll one up, and whether she's scaling down a wall unnecessarily, and that shot always confused me. Again, this is the first Bond movie I ever saw in theaters,
Okay.
so it was mind blowing. Like the action, loved it. And that shot sticks out with me as like tomorrow never dies. There's certain shots in this movie that I'll remember above all else. And that shot of her walking down the wall sideways will always stick out with me because I remember as I was younger and watched it and I thought, why is she doing that? Like, why is she doing that? I don't understand. There are things about it that I don't know. I don't know. Just in there unnecessarily, and that kind of goes with the flow with the Pierce Brosnan movies. As his movies, his collection of Bond movies progressed, I felt like they kept trying to one up each other in terms of uh, corniness.
Yeah.
This movie is a good throwback to a lot of Roger Moore era jokes and sexuality and just kind of premise in general.
Yeah,
And then
and there's a lot of that, like, oh, grow up, 007, and they're
yep,
sort of forcing Brosnan's version of Bond onto that Moore archetype that we've talked about before. We talked about it, I think, in Octopussy, and it's just like this, like, here he is, he kind of, and I don't even feel
yeah,
like Brosnan was doing that, but as much as like Q was saying this or other people were,
yeah.
like
Oh yeah,
the
no, it's
opening scene where he's with the language instructor and
hmm
Moneypenny calls him, and it's just like, oh, she's calling him when this is going on, ha ha
yeah,
ha, and it's
yeah.
just whatever, get
Well,
past it, and
and the whole the pumping joke, pump some information out of her.
yeah,
Yeah, that's just it's just too far. It reminded me a lot of Timothy Dalton's Bond in the Living Daylights. Like it was a kind of a it seemed like a Roger Moore era, like I don't know, script and situation, but yet he was fighting against that a lot.
yeah,
And I thought GoldenEye kind of went the opposite direction. Like there were, of course, it's James Bond movie. There are some things like that, but GoldenEye tried to stray away from that kind of movie as much as possible. And then they're kind of trying to bring it back toward the center with this movie. And I think it's always interesting watching, of course, every Bond movie sort of seems dated in terms of the technology and the situation, whether it's the Cold War or whatever. But this movie in particular, going back and watching it, what, 16 years, 17
I
years after
know.
it's come out, it's like this movie just wouldn't happen nowadays. They're talking about what I mean, basically what the villain is somebody on Twitter. It's on nowadays. He's like, you'll get the news tomorrow. Oh, we get it out sooner than everybody else. Like that's his grand scheme. And 10 years later, there's Twitter and news is instant for everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just kind
essentially,
of
yeah,
it's a big
TMZ,
letdown. Yeah,
TMZ,
exactly.
sort of like the Elliot Carver.
Yeah. It's just this grandmaster
There,
scheme
you know,
just
if
didn't really fly for Elliot
if
Carver.
Elliot Carver hadn't been ground up by that torpedo and he had survived, TMZ wouldn't be around today because Carver Media Group or whatever it was, they'd
We'd
be
still
doing
be
Twitter. They'd be the ones doing this.
we'd still be reading newspapers for
That's right.
I like that like a big or not a big chunk, but like a good feature action scene in this film takes place in in a newspaper printing press. I
Yes.
don't know. This is just very telling because it wasn't. This is a Bond movie that it was supposed to be on the cutting edge in terms of technology, but it really wasn't. It really wasn't
And
at all.
I think it's for people like us, or for us who we saw this first run in the theater, like you're saying, it winds up feeling more dated than something that was from the Moore or Connery era, where it's like, well, that's just a point in time.
Yeah,
That's the way it was in the 60s or 70s, where for us it's like, well, that's just crazy how it was like that. But
yeah,
that said, Tomorrow Never Dies is very much like, this is how things were in 1997 or whatever it was. Yeah,
yeah.
97. So, for the next generation, for your son, Sean, Roger, Timothy,
Pierce, Daniel.
Pierce, Daniel, when he watches this when he is older,
I
he
just think
probably will
it's
look at it in the same way we look at a Connery movie.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just you're right. You're absolutely right, and that's kind of and I mean I look at it and for example the BMW car. I felt
I've
like
been wanting to bring this up because
I fe
we talked about how the Z3 got no
mhm.
real love in GoldenEye, and I'd
I
hoped
feel
it
like
would come
they
back.
I felt like they were making up for the lack of Bond car in GoldenEye with so much Bond car in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah.
And I felt like, this 97, the GoldenEye video game had come out. I like how they literally put in a a Bond video game into the movie, where Bond is just playing a video game on his phone,
Yeah, you're right.
controlling the car. It's like the game. They knew that was going to be a gamer's dream. Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till I get that scene in the next video game, and I can control his car, wirelessly, or remotely. And it's just like I know that's what they were thinking. Like, oh, the video game's popular, so I have Bond play the video game in the movie. And let me tell you, James Bond is a horrible. I would be pissed off at James Bond in this movie because he is a horrible parker. He drives into that parking garage and he takes up 2 spots. And oh man, that if there's anything that grinds my gears more than that, I don't know what it is.
That probably explains why his version of Bond is not on either one of our teams, because that's something that irritates not only you but irritates me.
I was thinking about it. I'm like, this is my chance to put Pierce on my team. He hasn't been claimed by anybody. But then that scene comes on, and I'm like, that just no, that Bond doesn't do that. No, 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 no. So anyway,
All right. Well, is there any other little things about Tomorrow Never Dies that we need to mention? I think we should say something about Joe Don Baker's return. This would be his third
absolute.
movie that we've seen him in. He returns as
Yeah.
Jack Wade.
And
Um,
his second character, third movie.
Correct. Second
Yes.
character, third movie. It's the second appearance of Jack Wade, who had been in
Yes.
Goldeneye.
Yes.
I here's a little just a guess. I have no idea, though I am an expert, so this is probably true because I'm an expert on Bond movies. I would guess Pierce Brosnan was super annoyed with Joe Don Baker. he he seems horribly irritated with him the entire scene in the helicopter, and I think at some point Brosnan said, "Hey, in that next movie we do, could we not bring that guy back?"
I can completely. I think I see that. Yeah, yeah. I agree. And he just to confirm, he did not make an appearance in The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah, nor Die Another Day.
Yeah,
This is his final
he is.
appearance. Jack
He's
Wade.
officially done.
Jack
Is he
Wade.
done with all Americans in those movies? Is there any? Oh, well, I guess Denise
Um,
Richards is like he's American, but it's not like she's
Halle
working for the
Berry
American
was
government.
Halle Berry was an American, right?
That's right. Yeah, she was whatever her character
Yeah.
name
Well,
was.
we're not talking about that yet. Well, we will
Well,
someday.
or what was her character's name? This is something to do with the cat,
Jinx.
right? Jinx, Jinxie cat,
Of
whatever.
course, I know that because I'm an expert.
Jinx. I was thinking, I knew how to X in the he.
Woohoo! Expert
We're not,
right
ta-
here.
we're not talking about who won 007 Cena.
I wasn't saying that. We're both
I know.
experts.
I know. I'm just saying.
That's why we're writing the book.
Read the book.
Tomorrow
Listeners,
Never Dies. Where do we put
watch
this?
the movie.
Where do we put this?
I'm putting this in my middle. I think again, I love Pierce Brosnan. I think there are good things about this movie. The plot is incredibly simplistic. Um, it's almost like it's too simple. Like within 10 minutes, you know exactly what's going to happen. Um, and there things we were talking about. It's kind of that in between the good Pierce Brosnan movie and the getting more on the ridiculous scale. So I'm putting it in my middle.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of, this could have been a good rewrite away from being something on a much higher caliber than it was. I think a couple of different casting choices might have made things better. Again, sorry, Terry. Sorry.
Oh, Terry, you better not tweet her this
Uh, no, I'm not going to. You better not either.
unless she
And
responds.
Alabama Dog better not be tweeting her about this
I had
either.
no promises. No promises.
So again, I would agree with you. Middle. We agree again. So this is
Yeah.
two in
Middle's
a
in the middle.
row, two middles in a row for both of us.
It's
I
great.
think
It's great that we can agree. We've done this reboots with our podcast, and it's nice that we're seeing eye to eye on some things.
Yeah, not like Quantum of Solace. Again, I'm not looking back at Quantum of Solace.
No,
I'm
no,
not trying
no.
to bring it up, but like Quantum of
Nor
Solace, where we disagreed
Yeah,
really
nor Her
violently.
Majesty's Secret Service. I mean, although those are the imperfect episodes, and you should really listen to 0013B, which is the
Correct.
perfect episode.
Yes.
So yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And then boat makeout scene at the end.
Yeah. So this is a little bit controversial, but as far as a boat makeout scene in the
Uh
movie,
huh.
because the stealth boat had been destroyed
Oh,
by
I
this
was
point.
gonna count it. I was gonna say
Oh no,
yes.
I'm counting it. I'm
Okay.
counting it. It's just a uh just the debris of the boat
Yeah.
that
No, it was a boat,
they're on.
and they're making out.
Okay. Okay. No,
I'm in
I'm
complete agreement.
I'm glad you see it that way because
I
I
mean,
was going to count it.
yeah, of course I'm gonna count that. Next month, we're gonna do this all again. We're gonna do another episode, and next month it'll be a new year. We'll be entering. We'll have entered in 2015, and we're gonna
15.
do another Roger Moore movie. And this time we're gonna talk about Moonraker.
Oh boy, Moonraker. I'm excited about that one.
Actually, I think I am too.
That one gets a bad rap. So I'm excited to go back and take another look at Moonraker. Kick off 2015 in style.
Oh, yep. The way.
Leading up leading up to the new year that we get a new Bond movie. I'm excited.
That's right.
I'm excited. We
That's right.
got big things coming up for 2015, folks. Um, so don't stop listening.
Oh no! Don't stop! Don't stop!
Please, God, please stop. Please
Don't
don't
stop
stop.
listening. And if you
Or
haven't
believe me.
started listening, then go ahead and start. Well, Aaron, it was good. It was good talking to you again, and I look forward to chatting with you again next month
Yeah, I wish I could say
for
the same.
Moonraker.
Just
Goodbye.
kidding.